What, in your words, are the risks of Ozempic?
We don't know for sure, but I feel as though the potential risks are malnourishment. So there's lots of things. Oh, we can come back to the emotional side of this, but definitely if you're eating less food. So, well, first of all, how many people who are on these drugs are actually changing their diet? Are they just eating the same food that led them to being overweight or obese in the first place? They're just eating less volume. So they're still eating the same foods. So they're already likely undernourished.
Yeah.
Then you restrict the stomach, which is what this is doing. It's like a gastric sleeve in essence. It's making the stomach smaller because the less food you eat, the smaller the stomach will become. It will just shrink. Because of where we absorb our nutrients, are we limiting then things like B12, iron, protein, where we absorb protein, or zinc, minerals? So
I didn't think of that.
So if they're already, I position it as this. I think people who are living with obesity or they're in that kind of category, they're overfed and undernourished. There's definitely a malnourished perspective to this. And you might laugh because you think, well, you don't look like you're malnourished. But you're actually undernourished because you're not eating nutrient-dense food if you're eating highly processed.
And then if you cut that to like a quarter of
the
food
you're still malnourished.
And you're going to get less nutrients from that food because there's obviously less of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never thought of that. So if you lose weight without diet, 'cause dieting you can regulate what you have, and dieting you can say, well, I'm going to eat an apple and salad today without the carbs because I'm dieting. Whereas if you're on Ozempic and you're still eating the pizzas and pastas,
you don't change your diet. You're still eating the same food-like substances.
And I suppose the question that leads to then is, let's say I'm on Ozempic for like, I don't know, a year and a half. I'm just going to guess that's a typical time, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years. And I'm not getting the vitamins that I need. What could that then lead to?
That can lead to a lot of chronic conditions. So if you're undernourished as you go into this, and then you become even more undernourished or malnourished, you need nutrients to make your brain function, to make your heart pump properly, to build muscle, to keep your lungs, to keep your metabolism going. We need to eat. So my conflict with this is it is a sticking plaster. So if you're not fundamentally changing any of the habits that have led to the reason why you're now taking Ozempic, you aren't changing anything. You might be losing weight. Are you also losing muscle mass? I mean, there's studies that are showing with the injectables, you're losing lean weight. So you're losing fat and muscle.
But does that not happen with any diet?
It does. You do. But you're losing weight quicker.
Right, so you're losing muscle quicker as well.
But it would stand to reason you're losing muscle quicker, yeah. And then if you're not in a kind of ecosystem where you're understanding that you also need to be building muscle too, so you need to be strength training to maintain your muscle and then try and ideally build muscle too. But if you can't eat as much protein, how are you then going to build muscle? How are you going to maintain the muscle without losing? And then that leads to things like sarcopenia. So in older people, sarcopenia is where they're vulnerable to frailty because they don't have the muscle on their skeleton.
That was going to be my next question, because obviously when you get older, you start to lose muscle. Naturally that kind of happens 35 and then go onwards, maybe 40 onwards, you start to lose muscle density and mass. And that's why older people are that little bit more frail.
Yeah.
If you're to, let's say you're 40 or 50 and you start taking Ozempic, you'll lose your muscle a lot faster. And then as a result of that, when you come off Ozempic, you'll be a lot more prone to injury.
Yes.
Which I'm going to guess is going to shorten your lifespan.
Yeah.
Like you look at my grand broke her hip, she probably passed away 6 months to a year later.
Yeah.
Because that's quite normal.
Yeah.
Like when someone breaks something like that,
the recovery is much more difficult. Yeah.
Exactly. So like, I'm going to guess that that's probably one of the main risks there. It's the fact you're losing so much muscle at that age where it's going to be harder to recover.
And the danger is if the people who are drawn to this kind of medication are drawn for vanity reasons, so that they're not living with obesity, they're maybe a kilo or 2 or 3 kilos overweight, and they found that difficult to shift because they haven't changed any habits, and they then go down that medical route and they don't change anything else in their life, they'll lose what muscle mass they had that was protective. They'll lose fat too. But potentially, once they come off of it, they'll get rebound weight gain, but without the muscle coming back. So potentially, are they putting themselves in a position where they're worse off after the injection than they were? Because that little bit of body fat is actually protective to some degree.
Yeah.
I don't know. And these are the questions we don't have answers to.
Again, if you follow the money, it's like,
well,
it's a great miracle drug if you follow the money, because everyone's making a lot. I know a couple of people that work in, I don't want to say specifically, but there's online pharmacies. They have rocketed in terms of money made, and it's purely because of Ozempic and all the different, there's different strains of it. So it's purely because of that. They were like, listen, we used to sell a lot of drugs for different things, but this Ozempic thing is like, it's just like, and everyone is making a fortune.
That's
which is really, really scary.
It is.
You were talking about vanity there. I wrote something down. You know how there was this celebrity thing in Hollywood where everyone was very body positive and they were supportive of their larger brother and sisters? I think they've just all shot themselves in the foot. Like, it just shows the facade of Hollywood. Oprah Winfrey, Sharon Osbourne, Amy Schumer, Elon Musk, Chelsea Handler, Tracy Morgan, Kelly Clarkson, all of these people are on Ozempic and they've said that they're on Ozempic. And it just goes to show that they're just taking the easy route out.
Yeah.
They wanted inclusion because they couldn't, in my opinion, they wouldn't put in the effort to lose the weight.
Yeah. And they maybe also, I don't know if inclusion's the right word, but takes vulnerability and courage to be the one that's like not going with the flow, to go against the grain and say this. I'm not saying that body positivity is a load of nonsense. It's not. But if you're doing it in a performative way,
yes,
and I see a lot of this, there's performative wellness, and I wouldn't even put Ozempic in wellness. I think it doesn't fall in that category. But you see a lot on Instagram and social media about performative stuff, where on the outside it looks like they're doing all the things. As a practitioner, I can see that they're not doing the things. They're just looking like they are.
So it was almost like the validation of Instagram.
Yeah, so you get that quick clip that looks like you go to the gym 6 days a week, but in reality, you maybe go for 30 minutes once a week.
Yeah.
It's fake, and I think that time has come to an end. And we were talking about this. Although we've got this Ozempic injectable weight loss explosion, I think it will die down because, like anything, it's a new trend. It's got energy behind it.
Yeah. And all the celebs are taking it as well.
When we're seeing how ill they look, they do not look well at all. And that's not good for their brand, and it's not good for marketing. So what you're starting to see is the longer that these celebs are on them, you're actually starting to see the side effects.
Yeah.
And they're playing out in a very public way. There will always be sections of society that just don't care. They're just like, I want my quick win. I want to lose a kilo for my summer holiday.
But I think that's the danger. Like, I think I said this to Naveed as well. I'm very skeptical of any miracle drug because I do what you do. I start following the money and then researching it. And when you start researching something and there's tons of blank space besides the negatives because nobody actually knows, I'm thinking, oh, fuck, like something will come out.
Well, it's an experiment.
Yeah.
It's a real life in time experiment. And I don't know if I would want to be part of something that we don't know the outcomes of.
If you guys enjoyed that clip, please do me a huge favor before you go and head over to our Into the Mind podcast official page where we have the raw, uncut Into the Mind podcast, and hit that subscribe button. And the more subscribers we get, the more incredible guests we can get on the show. I really appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all real soon.